Okay, so we're diving deep today. And
Into turning pro.
that's right. Stephen Pressfield's turning pro and
It's a great one.
yeah, it is. I found it really resonated with me, and I think it will with a lot of our listeners too. Because it's about, how we kind of level up in a way,
Or grow, yeah.
how we grow, how we commit to our goals, and it's not always easy to do that. So I thought this would be a good one to kind of dig into and see what we can pull out of it that might be helpful for all of us.
Yeah, and what I think is so interesting about turning pro
Hmm.
is that it all really boils down to this one fundamental idea, this one decision, and that's to turn pro.
Yeah.
So the book is all about, and Pressfield really suggests that everything in your life kind of pivots on this one decision.
Yeah, he makes it sound so simple, right?
He says right at the beginning, all you have to do to turn pro is decide.
Yeah, just decide and you're done.
And then he goes on to compare it to, like,
9/11.
yeah, do you remember where you were on 9/11? Do you remember where you were when you turned pro?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember. That really struck me because it's like, you're going to remember this moment. It's going to be that significant in your life.
It's like a clear marker, like a before and after.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I think is so compelling about this book. It's like he's saying, it's not about, hoping that things will change or wishing that you were better at something. It's actually making this active choice to say, okay, I'm going to engage with my life, with my work
Yeah.
in this totally different way.
Yeah, and here's the thing that might seem a little counterintuitive at first, but Pressfield argues that when you turn pro-life, actually gets easier.
Easier. Really?
Now, he doesn't mean that there's less work or less effort involved.
Right, right.
It's more about like a clarity of purpose that you gain when you make this decision.
Like you finally know what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Exactly. And have you ever noticed that when you're truly aligned with what you're doing, when you're like really in the flow of it,
Yeah.
that the day-to-day stuff just seems to kind of flow a little more smoothly?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, it's like you're swimming with the current instead of against it.
Exactly. It might still be a workout.
Yeah.
You're still putting in the effort, but it feels.
Yeah, it feels natural. It feels right.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us to I guess you could say like the heart of the book, which is this contrast between the amateur and the professional mindset.
Yeah, and Pressfield really gets down to the nitty-gritty here. He says the difference between an amateur and a professional is in their habits. An amateur has amateur habits, a professional has professional habits.
Yeah, it all boils down to the habits, to those daily choices that you're making.
Yeah, those routines, the stuff you do without even thinking about it.
Exactly. And one of the things that Pressfield brings up in this context that I think is so insightful is this idea of a shadow career.
A shadow career, what's that?
So a shadow career is basically when you're pouring all of your energy into something that isn't actually your true calling. It's like you're pursuing something else, often very intensely,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even achieving some success in it. But deep down, it's kind of a way to avoid that thing that you're really meant to be doing.
Mm, interesting. So, like, for example,
So think about someone who's like, they're working a really demanding corporate job. They're climbing the ladder. They're making a lot of money. But, in their heart of hearts, they really want to be like a musician
right,
or a writer.
right. They always wanted to write a novel.
Yeah, exactly. So all of this energy is going into this other thing, this adjacent thing.
It's like a distraction.
Yeah, a really convincing distraction.
Yeah. You're busy. You might even be successful by, those conventional standards, but still there's this.
Nagging feeling like something's missing.
Totally. Yeah. And Pressfield says that the question we need to ask of a shadow career or an addiction is the same question the psychotherapist asks of a dream. What is our unconscious trying to tell us?
Yeah, it's like he's saying that these detours, these shadow careers, they might actually be, outward signs of some deeper fears or unresolved issues that we have.
Maybe we're afraid of failure.
Yeah, or maybe we're even afraid of success.
Right. Or maybe we just don't believe that we're good enough.
Exactly, and that's where the whole ego thing comes in, because Pressfield is very clear about this. He says the amateur is an egotist. He takes the material of his personal pain and uses it to draw attention to himself.
Ouch. Yeah, he doesn't hold back.
No, he doesn't. And it's really interesting because he's contrasting this with the professional who, as we'll see later, is much more focused on the work itself, on the craft,
Yes.
rather than trying to use it to get attention or validation.
Right. It's like the amateur's motivation is all external.
Yeah, they need that recognition. They need that praise. They need that sympathy.
Yeah, and the professional is more internally driven.
Exactly. Their motivation comes from a place of wanting to do good work for the sake of the work itself.
And that brings us to another really big theme in the book, which is the role of fear and resistance, and this is a big one.
Yeah, resistance is huge.
Yeah, resistance with a capital R.
Yeah, he talks about how before we turn pro, our life is dominated by fear and resistance.
So it's like this force that's holding us back.
Yeah, it's this powerful, often very subtle force that shows up in all sorts of ways, like procrastination,
Self-doubt.
distraction, sometimes even like physical ailments.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And he points out how amateurs, they often develop these elaborate strategies to avoid this inner conflict.
Oh, totally.
Right.
Like, he has this one line that really resonated with me. He says, "The amateur fears solitude and silence because she needs to avoid at all costs the voice inside her head that would point her toward her calling and her destiny, so she seeks distraction."
That's so true, especially in today's world.
Yeah, with all the social media and the constant
It's
notifications.
like we're constantly bombarding ourselves with noise so that we don't have to listen to that inner voice.
Right. It's too scary to actually be alone with our thoughts.
Yeah, and for you, have there been times in your life when you felt that resistance like really strongly?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I think everyone does. I mean, I definitely see it in myself when I'm procrastinating on a project or when I'm just like, scrolling through my phone instead of doing the work that I know I need to do.
Yeah, and Pressfield's point is that the key shift happens when we decide to turn pro. It's no longer about trying to outrun that fear or to avoid it.
It's about facing it head on.
Exactly. He says when we turn pro, we stop running from our fears, we turn around and face them.
And that's when the real growth happens.
Yeah. And he connects this to the idea of finally embracing our true selves. He writes, "We become who we always were, but had until then been afraid to embrace and to live out."
It's like we're finally shedding that skin of self-doubt.
Yeah, and allowing our authentic self to emerge.
It's a beautiful thought, and it makes sense because once we stop running from our fears, we can actually start to see them for what they are, and we can start to work with them instead of against them.
Yeah. And that's when Pressfield says our life starts to get very simple.
Simple, but wait a minute. I thought turning pro was supposed to be about hard work and dedication.
It is. It is. But the simplification that he's talking about is a simplification of focus and priorities.
Okay, so it's not about like having less to do. It's about,
It's about knowing what's important and letting go of the rest.
right, all that external drama, the need for validation, the
Mm.
distractions, they just start to fade away.
Exactly. And your focus becomes much narrower. It's about the work itself. It's about structuring your days in a way that allows you to confront those fears and to actually make progress on your goals.
So it's about being intentional with your time and energy.
Yeah, and it's also about the people that you surround yourself with. Because Pressfield points out that turning pro changes how we spend our time and with whom we spend it.
So some relationships might change.
Yeah, some of those old connections might naturally fall away, especially the ones that are still stuck in that amateur mindset.
Right, the people who might feel threatened by our growth.
Yeah, exactly. And Pressfield even says that those who are still fleeing from their own fears will now try to sabotage us.
Oh, wow, that's intense.
Yeah, it can be tough, but it's not always intentional.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just aren't ready to see us grow and change.
And they might try to hold us back.
Yeah, but on the flip side, Pressfield also says that new people will appear in our lives, people who are also striving and facing their own challenges, and those become our new support system.
It's like we attract people who are on a similar path.
Exactly. And one thing that I think is really important to remember is that this decision to turn pro, it's not a one-time thing.
Right, it's not like you flip a switch and then you're done.
Yeah, Pressfield compares it to kicking a drug habit or stopping drinking. It's a decision to which we must recommit every day.
So it's an ongoing process.
Yeah, the resistance never really goes away.
Right, those temptations to slip back into old patterns, they're always going to be there.
But the professional understands this, and they make a conscious choice every day to resist those urges and to stay aligned with their chosen path.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those professional habits that Pressfield outlines because he gives quite a comprehensive list.
He does. He talks about things like patience.
Patience, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, because, meaningful work often takes a lot of time.
It does. You can't rush it.
No, you can't. And he also talks about seeking order in your environment and in your routines.
Like having a dedicated workspace,
Yeah, or having a regular schedule.
or even just like decluttering your desk.
Yeah, anything that helps you to create a sense of structure and focus.
Right. And he also talks about this thing called demystification, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, demystification is basically the ability to break down large, overwhelming tasks into smaller, more manageable steps.
So instead of looking at the whole mountain, you focus on the next step in front of you.
Exactly, and that makes it a lot less daunting.
Totally. And he also emphasizes the importance of acting in the face of fear.
Yeah, don't wait for the fear to go away because it probably won't.
Just do it anyway.
Yeah, just take action. And professionals also understand the importance of preparation.
Like doing your research.
Yeah, or practicing your craft or whatever it is that you need to do to be ready for the task at hand.
And they're always learning and improving.
Yeah, mastering technique is another big one. It's about constantly honing your skills and striving for excellence.
And they're not afraid to ask for help when they need it.
No, they know that they don't have to do everything on their own.
Right. And they don't take failure or success personally.
Yeah, that's a big one. The amateur might be completely crushed by a setback
Yeah.
or, become totally dependent on external praise.
Right. But the professional sees both as feedback.
Yeah, they learn from their mistakes and they keep moving forward.
And they don't get too caught up in the hype.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pressfield has this great line. He says, the amateur tweets, the pro works.
I love that it's so true. It's like the amateur is all about broadcasting and getting attention, and the professional is just quietly doing the work.
Exactly. And Pressfield also introduces this concept of practice, which is more than just a job or a hobby.
Yeah, it's like a way of life.
Yeah, he talks about how a practice has a dedicated space, a scheduled time, and a clear intention.
And you approach it with the mindset of a warrior.
Focused and committed, but also with humility.
Right, because you're always a student.
Yeah. And he emphasizes that a practice is lifelong.
It's not about reaching a destination, it's about the journey.
Exactly. And Pressfield even suggests that a practice can lead to a communion with a power greater than ourselves.
It's a powerful thought.
Yeah, it's like when we dedicate ourselves to our craft,
Mm-hmm.
we can tap into something bigger than ourselves.
It's like we're connecting to the source.
Yeah, and even with all this commitment and dedication, there are still going to be days when that resistance is really strong.
Oh, yeah. We all have those days when it's hard to get started or to stay motivated.
So Pressfield offers some guidance for those tough times.
Okay, like what?
He says, first, take what you can get and stay patient.
So even small steps count.
Yeah, even if you only get a little bit done, it's still better than nothing.
Right. And he also says play for tomorrow.
Yeah, don't let a bad day derail your whole journey.
It's a long game.
Exactly. And finally, he reminds us that it's a long-term practice.
Yeah, these challenges are just part of the process.
And he even shares a great piece of advice from a polo player named Sue Sally Hale.
What's that?
She says, sit chilly.
Sit chilly. I love that.
Yeah, it's a great reminder to just persevere, even when things are tough.
So to wrap things up, what would you say is the core message of turning pro?
I think it's about recognizing the power of that decision to turn pro in whatever area of your life is truly meaningful to you.
It's about making that shift from an amateur mindset to a professional mindset.
Yeah, from fear and ego and distraction to discipline and focus and commitment.
And it's not just about external success.
No, it's about growth and self-discovery.
Pressfield says becoming a pro in the end is nothing grander than growing up.
Yeah, it's about taking responsibility for your life and embracing your potential.
So for those of you listening, I think the key question is, are there any areas in your life right now where you might be operating from that amateur mindset?
And what's one small step that you can take today to start turning pro in that area?
And maybe it's also worth considering any shadow callings that you might be pursuing and asking yourself what your unconscious might be trying to tell you.
Turning Pro is really a powerful book, and I think it offers a lot of valuable insights for anyone who's looking to level up in their life.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.